Howdy everyone, I'm Nidoking. This is Sinner Sacrifice for Redemption. And there on the start menu was one more thing that they added in the update. Kind of a surprise, but they now have a Start New Game option in the menu. So, if I wanted to just start fresh without having to go to every stone where I've beaten the boss and retrieve all of my sacrifices, I could do it. I could just go back to the start of the tutorial, quit the game in progress, and get back to the beginning. One of those things you kind of have to ask, why didn't they have that in the game at the beginning? But whatever. I also even forgot the order I usually fight the bosses in and decided to do Yordo before Fies to Lust this time. Mostly I was just eager to see what the riposte on this weapon can do. And this is the only boss where I can do that. At least until I get all the way up to Adam, and I don't feel like waiting that long. I think in every other respect, the Pick of Chastity has become my favorite weapon. The Greatsword's really good, but I love this one. I love the stun, I love the speed of the attacks, I love some of the attack patterns. So let's see if it stacks up in the most important way of all. Okay, something was a little wrong there. We're gonna have another look at that. Once I can maneuver him into position. Camera's doing some really funny things as I'm moving a bit faster than it's expecting me to, I guess. Just try to stay out of the way of these attacks and get in there for another parry. I'll get him on his own eventually. Just toss a couple spears over there, put the pressure on. Alright, he's separated from most of his allies. I think this is my opportunity. And yes, the riposte with the Pick of Chastity does no damage at all. So, that was about all the interest I had in using it in this fight. And I just finished the way I always do. If he won't come to me, I'll just throw the battle at him. There'll be more interesting things to come. But if I'm not doing something new in a particular battle, why even bother to show it, right? I considered taking a different weapon into the Fies to Lust fight, but nah, we'll just stick with what I know. And here, I don't even really need the Pick of Chastity because he gets stunned from just normal greatsword attacks more often than not. So I expect I'll give it a go, but I don't expect it to be very interesting when I do. In fact, really, I think there's only one point of any particular interest in this fight. Naturally, I get off to a really bad start. That's the way it always goes. And I can't get in enough hits to stun him, really, before he starts teleporting. And that's the fight. Well, I'm doing an absolutely terrible job of finishing him off. That's me almost dead to probably the boss that should be the easiest by now. So not much of a good show for our new weapon. On the other hand, I will be able to get some effective use out of it against Camberluce. He can be stunned, but not very easily. And the quicker attacks will hopefully give me more opportunities to get out of the way of his attacks when I absolutely need to. So I'm thinking, let's go ahead, be saucy, do it with a new weapon. It does garbage damage, but I can do a lot of garbage damage in a pretty short time. And honestly, I don't think any weapon really does very good damage against him. Seems like we're off to about the usual start. See if I can get in close and actually start scoring some hits every once in a while. That's a good opportunity to get in, get some damage while he's stunned. Not a huge amount of extra damage, I think, but I'm sure he takes more when he's lost his breath and trying to recover. Gotta be a little more on point with the dodges than usual. And I'm running myself down on stamina now, which is not a good idea. But I think I'm keeping up okay. Well, not a lot of opportunities to attack, but I'm taking advantage of them when they come. Still gotta get used to the distance on these attacks, though. I think probably the best use of the charging attack and the dashing attack is not so much to close the distance, but to get past them so that you get to deliver your next attack from behind, where it's a little safer. Well, just slowly whittle him down. Dodge everything. He didn't even get the chance to land the final blow. Look at that. Yeah, that was not the cleverest thing I could have done, I'm sure. But really, the entire fight is just kind of more of that. A whole lot of exactly the same thing, over and over again. Exhausting myself at the critical moment, but it really doesn't matter. And I recorded most of the rest of this playthrough all in one session, figuring that I was probably going to cut out most of the actual fights by this point, because there's so little to see. Yeah, for this fight, I really considered bringing a different weapon. But honestly, the pick has done me well so far. I think I'm just going to go for it. Especially here, where getting behind the boss is typically the most important thing you can do, and the dashing attack is great for that purpose. As long as I don't run straight into his leg, I can usually slash him as I go past. That's the thinking anyway. We'll see how well that actually works in practice. So this is probably the best way to close the distance, and I expected the charging attack to go a lot farther than it does. Very nearly got in there in time, anyway. So, alright. We've learned a lot of things not to do when fighting with an unfamiliar weapon. I'll learn from my mistakes. There we go. That's the attack you want to use. The real difficulty is stamina management if you're going to be using the charged strong attack. But still, a lot like the one with the sword and shield, it's particularly effective when you know he's not going to be moving. And that's probably the best application of the dash attack, going right through his attack. And he is now standing on the candles. I couldn't even see what was going on. Thick clouds of dust are not a good feature for your battle. Let's see if I can get back in here before he starts throwing energy waves at me. And continue misjudging distances. Should be almost to the halfway point of the fight now. Not the best time for it, but most of the homing bullets still missed. Just go in for those slashing attacks while he throws his energy waves at me. There, I was prepared for it that time. It's surprisingly hard to remember that when he does that big overhead area attack swing, that he's going to do it a second time. And there, I was just a little late on the roll. I was totally going to roll. And here we see the big problem with the charged strong attack. You actually have to be facing in the right direction, because you don't get an opportunity to adjust, and even if you're targeting the enemy, it doesn't automatically change direction like a lot of the other weapons would. Alright, double roll. And we're pretty much done here. I don't think any of his minions are going to get a chance to get close and have any impact on the fight. I can even take a shield to the face quite safely. And I'll cut it here and make a second video out of the remainder of the attempt. See you next time.